Bet you won't do it.
Bet you we will.
All right.
Hey guys, welcome to After Hours Automotive. Hey guys, I'm Scott for After Hours Automotive. Today we're going to talk about why my truck hates this lift kit, and my truck hates this lift kit.
Gotta have Jack Daniels, always. Scott's over here cutting wood. This is our makeshift fire pit.
Bacon and eggs and biscuits on this here fantabulous fire. This is a 2008 model Silverado 1500 with the 4.8 liter four-wheel drive LT. I have this truck on a 7.5 inch rough country suspension lift with extended struts rather than strut spacers, as you can see. The strut is longer here rather than adding a spacer here. Whenever I installed this lift kit about 5 months ago, I also installed brand new Detroit axle control arms, upper control arms. The lowers were fine, there was no play there, so I didn't replace those ball joints or anything, but I did replace the upper control arms because they did have the slightest bit of play in them. This 7.5 inch rough country lift kit comes with the lowering brackets for the lower control arms, lowering brackets for the differential, lowering brackets for the sway bar, you have spacers for the CV axles. Now this rough country 7.5 inch suspension lift pushes your front wheels out about 2 inches. So there's a need for a CV axle spacer. Also, when you install this lift kit, you pretty much need a 2 inch wheel spacer, which I went with 1.5 inch wheel spacers, and I feel like it's just a little more narrow in the back, but not noticeable. Also on this truck, I already had 1,500 pound Adaleafs on this rear, so the truck is on 7.5 in the front, and technically with the added weight of all the tooling and everything, probably about 9 inches in the rear. Not about that squat life. Now installing this lift kit does require some modification. You have to cut the frame where your cross member otherwise would have been in order to make room for the differential. It also calls for drilling out the lower control arms to move the sway bar link over a little bit so that it's not bent like that. But that's the one step I skipped, and it's been riding good. Also, you have to cut your bump stops away for the factory height control arms to have full range of motion during driving. The rear kit is just a block roughly 7 inches tall in the rear, and then you add these extended shocks here. So for a lift kit that looks this good, what could possibly go wrong? Well, I'll tell you. Now let's talk about some of the troubles I've had since installing the lift. First, you can't keep an alignment on this thing for nothing. The way that these wheels are offset, it sets the tire out farther, and then they're a larger diameter, and it causes more stress on the suspension parts than usual, and it will pull this thing right out of alignment if you go off-roading or hit any kind of hard pothole or anything, and it will let it fall in and you start wearing out the inside of your tires. So today we're changing another transmission mount. This is number 3. I broke the stock mount, I broke an aftermarket mount, I broke another aftermarket mount, and now here we are. My truck hates this lift. Snap the ears right off this mount. Every time it does the same thing. And it's digging into the case of my transfer case. Got my drive shaft hitting the cross member. Good Lord. Whenever you give this same suspension setup the job of moving these large wheels and tires, it causes a lot more torsion in this system, and it causes for this thing to want to torque off of the mount and brake, and then you ended up with this. And now it's got my inside of my transfer case sounding pretty rough, I feel like, because of bouncing up and down on that. This is the broken transmission mount. This one I got, I believe, offline. It's really made out of some dinky stuff. The one I just got from O'Reilly is much thicker. I mean, it should definitely stand a lot better to the test than this one does. This is really just light gauge stuff. And so, like I say though, this is, I broke the first stock mount off just like this. It may have had some of this left, and I think it actually just broke off the ears. Then I replaced it with another aftermarket one, and then also broke the ears off of it. And then now here I am with this one and broken the ears off of it. So this is the third transmission mount I put on this truck. So we had to go pick up a new transmission mount. I didn't have one in the shed like I thought. See how quickly I can break this one. Two bolts on the bottom. Scoop the silver a little bit so that I can line the bolt holes up. Look at that. Now we'll tighten these bottom ones back up after you get the top ones nice and snug. Do the top ones first. Nice and new. Let's see how long that lasts. After putting this lift on here, something happened one night that really just shocked me. We were coming through the trail and I hit a small bump, and I mean it startled the truck a little bit. It was a medium bump, but the wheel shot off to the side, and I had broken this mount that holds the rack and pinion on, slap in half, and the rack and pinion split in half. And I've broken this twice before, but never with the rack and pinion falling apart like that. Barely made it home and had to replace another $300 rack and pinion because you can't buy just this itself. This is what I was showing you on the rack and pinion. So on one side it's held on with large bolts through the rack and pinion, and then on this side this sleeve slides over the rack and these bolt onto the frame. But these I continue to just break. This is cast aluminum, there's nothing to it, and I'm looking at trying to make a steel version of this. If anyone else has the same truck and is interested in the same thing, be sure to comment and let me know that that's something that everyone's having a problem with, or maybe it's just me and my driving habits on my lifted truck. So we're gonna see about a solution for this. Also, since having put the lift on, I've had to replace the rear end in here. I don't know if that's coincidental because I was at about 240,000 miles on the stock rear end and I added the lift to the vehicle. So I'm going to call that that it was just at the end of its life, and then I added too much stress to it. Since putting the lift on, I have broken this axle assembly right in half, cracked this housing, and also had to replace the front axle. So these, and then I also have the front axle that I cracked the housing on. Broken slap in half. So, risk of putting a lift on your truck. And these CV axles tend to start leaking a little more once you put these spacers on, and it just adds a lot more wear to everything. These control arms that were brand new, instantly damaged, and they've been greased 3 or 4 times since I put them on. Ball joints already wallowed out of them. That's definitely due to the extra stress from the lift. Yes, I know that it's not totally the lift's fault, but it does kind of encourage you to do shit like this. Fucking show off.
Fucking show off. Yeah, I think you do. Fuck yeah. Hey, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, don't do that. You won't make that. You're gonna have to make a right turn and come straight down that hill, and I still think you're gonna get stuck. I wouldn't do that. Bro, you're gonna fucking... all your body panel's gonna be fucked. What down there, won't do it.
Bet you we will.
All right. So why in the fuck did he think this was a good idea?
I did it. I knew it was a bad idea. I came this way. Thanks for watching. See you next time.